Rupert Grinch.
Yeah, like Rupert Grinch. What is that?
Rupert Grinch? You don't know? The Ginger Grinch?
The Ginger
Yeah,
Grinch?
it's still Scottish Christmas.
Wait, what?
You don't know?
No.
That's weird.
His heart actually grows to 9 3/4 sizes that day.
What is this
Smaller.
from?
Smaller.
He starts out really
He's
nice.
he's a reverse Grinch. He's so nice.
Wouldst thou like to live deliciously?
Solitos tuo, usuncarum, ungularum, delectatque contremescit me. Intro.
Hey Elmers, welcome back. It's 13th and Elm. Excuse us if we're a little louder on the road here. We're getting another episode in. You know, it's the three of us, and it's here. It's the favorite time of year. It's first episode, Halloween Blitz, 31 Days of Horror.
Yeehaw!
Rob, Bill, what's up?
Hey, and
What's
howdy
up?
howdy to all you Texas Elmers out
I think
there.
it's y'all. All y'all.
What's up, y'all? That's how you do it, Rob.
Tell them why.
Thanks.
Tell them
You'll
why,
get
Rob.
it. You'll get it.
We're actually at the State Fair, Texas right now.
That's right.
Dallas, here at the fairgrounds. Back in my old stomping grounds. It cannot really, but kind of, sort of, adjacently.
Not mine.
And
I mean, you're
not yours.
You're more.
And it is warm. It is 9 p.m. and it is 85 degrees outside.
I'll tell you what. Wherever we all live is not this warm this time of year.
No.
More
No.
often than not. It's certainly not this hot this late in the evening.
And luckily,
No fair.
What time is it?
it's also moist. It's 9 p.m.
9 p.m.
It's 9 p.m.
Yeah.
85
My watch
degrees.
is.
It's good.
Oh well, my watch. I guess my phone. Is it satellite too?
68.
I got an analog watch because I'm a fucking old school. I'm a relic. I'm a fucking hipster, right?
Well, if you have an analog watch, you'll be able to read it, maybe.
well, no, I can read it. I'm
Oh.
saying because we're not in the same time zone.
Oh, you didn't adjust
I didn't
it.
adjust it because of my phone because I don't even look at my watch for fucking time because I'm one of those dweebs. It's an aesthetic. I'm just here for the aesthetic. I use my phone for everything. I'm fucking whatever. All right, Elmers, if you like that type of content, make sure to get behind our paywall and listen to Rob's Fashion Tips, where Bill and I will scream at each
It's
other.
a new segment?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
you're gonna teach us how to fucking dress because we're not doing well.
Wait, I know how to dress as an emo hardcore boy that doesn't know how to dress.
Yeah, what he said.
All right, let's get this show on the
What
road.
are we doing
We're
this week?
doing 5 movies this week.
Why?
Well, 5 movies this week because it's the first week of the 31 Days of Horror. It's one of the short weeks. The first week and the last week will be short. That gives us a little bit more time to go into these movies. But the next few episodes we'll be covering 7 films. We'll talk more about that at the end of this episode. But right now we're going to just jump into the first movie. You guys will figure it out. You were here last year. First movie is Ring. That is 1998's Ring, the Japanese original, directed by Hideo Nakata. This was my first time watching it. I haven't read the source material. I have seen the American remake a couple of times. Spoiler alert, I'm not a big fan of the American remake, and I've gone in a couple times with open mind because people like it, and I really don't care for it. This was quite a bit different.
I completely agree with that. People do like the remake. In fact, I'd say it's pretty goddamn popular as far as like horror movies go for like people that aren't into horror. We talk about some of these movies where it's like you might not be into horror, but you've seen that movie, and I feel like The Ring is one of those. But I agree, the remake is not that good. Do I sound quiet?
No, you sound pretty loud. It's hard to hear yourself over everything in the background, but I think you're doing well.
Oh,
Just make
okay.
sure
Yeah, it's hard
hold
to
the
tell.
mic
There's
closer.
People screaming and stuff. But yeah, I completely agree. It is very different, even though it's not.
We'll just
Yeah.
you're gonna have to talk while he's done. People
it
though, not
definitely-
just sorry to interrupt, but like people not just like randoms and like people who haven't seen many horror movies, but a lot of horror movie fans love The Ring. Like
Yes.
I always feel like
Yes.
I'm not getting it right,
Yes, but
but I've
Also,
seen it
no,
enough
'cause
to
it's not that good.
It's not right.
it's not.
Yeah, I haven't actually seen this movie.
Get the
so you
fuck
guys-
out of here and get the funnel cake. Like, can
Okay.
you come back
Yeah.
and just?
Sorry,
You haven't seen the American remake?
I haven't seen either until the pod.
Oh, really?
No, but
Oh.
I'll be right back. Give me 5 minutes.
He's
5
got the
minutes.
order, right,
5 minutes.
though?
No, there's not an order. I have to stand in
not
line,
an
which
order.
is why I like haven't walked over there yet. You guys are. I mean, we're at the same. Like,
Okay.
come on.
Let's just
This is
trade
the-
off. We'll
You're
trade
in
off.
line.
You go in
You
line
stay
and
in
then
line.
come back.
I know it's
Come
like
back,
the
we'll switch.
special
This is fucking stupid.
night
I'm sorry.
fair, but it's still a state fair.
Yeah. Okay.
We're
So
wasting time.
anyway, go ahead with your plan. Sorry, Bill. Go ahead. Get that funnel cake. Get a powdered sugar
What was
and
my
cinnamon.
point?
Cinnamon,
So I'm
cinnamon.
surprised that you haven't seen.
Cinnamon? Okay, sorry. Bye.
I'm surprised you haven't. Wait, cinnamon?
Stop.
Funnel cake?
Stop it. Okay. We're never gonna get through this. People are looking at us. We're just yelling cinnamon. Let's start a chant. Cinnamon. Cinnamon. Cinnamon.
Can I-
Cinnamon. This is fucking stupid.
Don't pay. This one's trash.
Can I just say, we should not have set up in front of the funnel cake stand. I told you it'd be distracting.
Okay, honestly, just bring your fucking suitcase and the generator with us and stand in line together, and we can just get a funnel cake.
We're
you-
gonna need a generator next time because if we're wasting time, we honestly that's
So
a good
you-
point because battery life we got about fucking.
Yeah,
50
I don't
minutes.
understand why Bill got a kerosene-powered generator, but whatever. We got a couple
Actually,
hours
for real, like,
max.
I'm actually pretty surprised you have not seen the original.
It is a very
When you say
efficient.
the
So-
original, you mean the remake.
Fuck yes. Wow, isn't that crazy?
Yes, that's
Isn't that
crazy,
crazy
right?
how that's how I, as an almost 30-year-old, like fucking
Dude, our generation, this
American
movie was fucking huge. Not
sees
this
that
movie,
because
the
it
original.
was big, so
the
we kind of
remake.
think of it. Yeah, exactly. So I'm curious what you think of this the most, because this is another unique situation that we're in, because you got to see the Blair Witch for the first time, like in the woods, also not seeing the remake. So this is like another one of those, I feel like, rare chances that we have where it's like these
Yeah.
movies from our childhood, like,
Because
do
spoiler
they
alert,
hold up? But even though the remake is the one from our childhood, but like I said,
I watched this with him, and at
Plot-wise?
some point early on, he was like, "Yeah, I've never seen that. I haven't seen the remake." And I was like, "Wait, you haven't? So you don't know the story?" And he's like, "Well, I know there's like a tape." And I was like, "So you don't know the story? You don't know?" And he's like,
Oh, wow.
"No." And I was like, "Oh fuck, that's cool." And it made it more fun for me to watch. And I'll tell you what, this movie is different than the remake, but it is also quite similar. Like the remake,
plot-wise and
pretty-
timeline is
the
pretty much
the-
the fucking same.
I actually kind of appreciate the remake a little bit more just because I see how it reinvented itself as something new for a Western audience, but it stayed pretty
Right.
true to the story. And I at least give it credit for not being a shot-for-shot remake, and I give it credit for not being a bastardization. I actually appreciate the movie more. I don't think it's any more entertaining, but I see what they did, and it was obviously successful because when it came to the American market, it was a fucking smash success.
Yeah. I do think I prefer this one though.
I definitely did.
I mean, you guys know me, like I'm a big Asian horror nerd, and there's very many reasons for that. And one of the reasons is that they always really flesh out and develop their characters really well, and there's always a lot of family drama and things that go on, and just adding that element just really elevates a horror movie, because if you really care and feel like you know about the people, it helps. And in this one, compared to other big Asian horror movies, you don't know a whole lot and you don't care a whole lot, but I feel like you still do more than the remake that we all know. And I fucking just I just love Asian horror for that, is they always do the family drama so well, and that does such a good job of setting the atmosphere that even if the actual horror elements aren't the best, the added kind of uncomfortable atmosphere and dark feeling of it all makes it better.
So
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And what's interesting about this movie and its sister remake, and don't let me speak for you, so jump in, but I feel like our generation, and you are a big J-horror and Asian horror fan, so kind of talking about you. People in the West who have developed that affinity, a lot of people owe a big part of that to Ring, or The Ring, the American remake, because it started like the craze with The Grudge, as an adaptation of Jun Young, and like that whole J-horror, like spooky ghost, long hair type of thing that was really popular in America during the 2000s. That was all kind of born from this. I mean, this movie was huge in Japan. I don't know if you looked at any of the stats about it, but Ring
it's a ghost story.
Ring was released as a 2-part movie. So this movie might have seemed like it had an abrupt ending, and that's because at the time it was released congruent with a film called Spiral. Mm-hmm. And Spiral was not very successful and not very popular, even though they were like released the same day or same week or whatever. But people loved Saw. So immediately after Saw, when you watch Spiral, which is the official sequel, and it was also based off of the source material, which is the official sequel to the manga, or the book Saw, rather. Or not Saw, sorry. Fucking Ring. Mm-hmm. That's the official sequel. But they didn't do well, and so the studio took Ring and made a second Ring film. And that's the new official sequel. So all of the source material is now not canon.
Right.
And all of like Ring 2, Ring 3, Ring 0, all the Sadako movies, Sadako versus Ju-on, all of that was born out of the film franchise and the fact that the series produced successful sequels that were not tied to the book.
Right.
Which is I don't know, this is a weird cultural phenomenon that's been going on in Japan since the early 90s that is surrounded Ring. And it's such a sensational movie that's caused a big public narrative, but I hadn't seen it until now, and I do prefer it over the original the original American, my original, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
And that being said, I kind of still didn't love it. It was good, but it wasn't great. It left me wanting a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, it's still not the best. I mean, you go off a premise alone, it's about a videotape that you watch and you're supposed to die in 7 days. I mean, based off of that precedent alone, it's hard to imagine that done in a way that truly captivates you or scares you, unless it is like in this era where it's not the digital era. Obviously, we're not scared of videotapes now, and this is like another thing you see in Asian horror a lot too, is like horror that has to do with machinery or computers, so just like the digital era in general. Like, I mean, we talk about like One Missed Call, who originally was like Mykel, and then that was done in America as well, and it's like
also
the same
like,
kind of thing. The
Tetsuo, like it's a common theme throughout,
Asian
Japan, and
film.
so is Ghosts.
Yes.
So they meet each
yeah.
other often, that relic or like a container or something that the ghost needs to be set free from.
Yes.
And so the videotape and the ghost makes maybe more sense in a Japanese culture than it would to us as Americans.
Right.
So there's some of that.
Always.
There's some of that.
Always going to be that, unfortunately, with
What the
Asian
fuck
horror.
is the I think I see
What?
Rob's coming back.
With the funnel cake? Oh, finally? Were they out of cinnamon?
No, but they did give me some weird looks, but I got it. They had to go to the other stall that's doing churros.
And fucking elephant ears. It's not the same thing.
No.
Okay, nobody cares about
it's
this.
different batter.
Hey, what do you think about?
Come on. Are you really going to get an argument about churros and funnel cakes? Because I'm happy to do it.
I didn't say they were the same thing. I thought like the cart was the same cart.
No, they're all different stalls.
I didn't realize. Sorry. Well, thank you for your patience.
You're welcome.
I'm going to eat the shit out of it. We're talking about Ring while I stuff my face.
Oh.
Can I share that
What
with
else?
you while Val talks about the Ring?
Yeah, sure. You guys can fucking eat
Yeah, no, talk.
and I'll fucking pontificate about this movie. This is not really my movie. I don't have anything against it, particularly in that I'm just not a ghosty boy, and it's a very like you said, like a Japanese, like culturally Japanese. It's a Japanese film, but kind of like how Devil's Backbone was that Spanish ghost story where it's not even about spooky booze and like hurting people. It's about someone who had like some great wrong taken on them and then not being fulfilled or released and whatever, and then there's a curse or something that follows along with that. And I do love creepy artifacts, so it's kind of cool to have it as a video cassette, and it's definitely timestamps this film hard. But it's still charming in a way. And there will
food is so good.
yeah. Oh, dude. Okay, I'm not even shitting you. You know what the number one this year is?
Cornell?
Because I've no.
Dude, are they a Korean
Fried
corn dog?
food at the state fair. Corn dog. Corn dogs from like 1970. Homie, it's fried charcuterie, motherfucker.
Oh yeah, your sister was
that's
telling me. Yeah.
Yes.
We gotta hit that before we get out of here.
Yeah, it's like
It's already fucking late.
salami,
We'll come back
ghost
tomorrow. We're not getting there
cheese, and something else. It's
Ghost cheese?
like goat cheese.
I thought you
and
meant like a
then,
ghost pepper cheese. I was like, ghost cheese.
No,
right?
no, but then it's like battered. No, it's like it's a wonton wrapper, and it's deep fried. And it's got hot honey and olives and creme fraiche.
Nice.
Fucking so good.
But I mean, like, dude, this is like 8 years ago where we were having like fried Snickers bars and shit. Like, come on.
yeah.
More than that, maybe.
I
Fried cheesecake, fried Coke.
thank you.
Yeah.
So
It's just
yeah,
insane. But I mean, this
just
film,
wasn't for you.
It's just not really my kind of movie. It's still pretty good.
Yeah, it's not bad.
It's got like good atmosphere. It
does.
reminds me a lot of Dark Water, which is another like J
haven't seen
horror
that
that
one,
had
actually.
a remake made of it in an American audience.
Yeah.
And I never saw the original, but I did see the American remake of Grudge with
Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Is it,
Yes.
is
Yes,
it?
it's Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Okay.
It's Buffy Summers.
Okay. Yes. You're right.
It's-
You're right.
It's Joyce Summers' little baby girl.
I
You're
feel
right,
like-
right. So just let me talk a little bit longer, and
You're gonna want some of this while it's greasy. and hot,
it's greasy
so-
and hot. I ate some on the way over, actually.
Yeah, I could tell. Yeah, I could tell.
It's coming.
But overall, like, this isn't like particularly scary or really all that grabbing, in my opinion. And it ended so abruptly, and then you inform me that there's like another
Companion
movie.
film. Yeah,
Not even that; it's like the other half of the story.
right.
So,
Which is no longer the other half of the story.
But
It's been erased,
but it
and it was
should be.
replaced with a completely new.
regardless of what
But
it is,
yes.
like I still watched half a story.
Right.
So that's kind of it's annoying. It's like in Blue Balls. Like that fucking sucks. So
I thought it kind of ended on like an ambiguous note, like some other movies that we've watched recently. Like we kind of learn at the end that it's a copy, and like you pass it on to someone else, and then you'll be okay. Like this.
Well, you
is
guys-
that not slightly
did you guys get it-
reminiscent Of It Follows.
if you
Yeah.
copy it, you're okay. But if you watch something that someone gives you, then it'll kill you. Or
Well,
hurt
you guys know how it ends. The implication, right,
Yeah.
is that she's going to save her son
right? Because
by
you watched
sacrificing
By saying-
her father, who is old, and that's
it. Oh,
what
so
she's-
you can pass it further down.
Well, she has the tape, and she's
Right.
already shown it to somebody, so she's safe. But her son watched it.
Right. So
So
she
she's
can
gonna
get
go
someone else
give it to her
watch in
son to
7
show-
days. Gotcha.
yes.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's reminiscent of
It follows, or a lot of
Okay.
a lot of it. Yeah,
you
that's a
know
good
what I
point.
mean, of the ending. And honestly, I feel like we're all in the same boat. I know it kind of seems like we both like it more than you, but I think it's because we've seen the American. You know what I mean?
so
Like
you have some nostalgia
I feel
and
like
stuff.
you are saying the same things that we would be saying if this was our
First
first
watch.
viewing experience. Like the American version is just worse, so like watching it better is better.
Also say that the actual video itself is almost like a parody of what a creepy movie and a horror movie would be.
I think that's
funny
because
you
of this movie, though,
Right? So it's like
because
the
this movie
before.
was parodied
Yeah.
in Shriek. I'm not another teen movie,
Of course.
scary movie. It's been on the internet, and it's been done to death
And-
because of this.
And also compared to
You want
the
some of this
video
coconut
in
cotton
the
candy.
What the fuck? All right, we'll finish it before you talk. You got a mouthful of fucking cotton candy. There you go. There's some fucking shiner to wash it down like a real fucking Texan, you fucking piece of shit.
There's also like frozen lemonades and like Tito's and.
Well, I know.
More sugar for my iced tea?
Whoa, you got unsweetened? Dude, just
No, there
get.
just wasn't enough sugar.
There wasn't enough sugar. You're gonna have to lose a foot, homie.
What were we talking about? Oh, no, that's funny because the fucking video in this one is so much creepier than in the American version that if you thought that this seemed like a parody, you should watch the one in the American video because it will seem even more so. Because this one to me, I was like, hey, this one's actually kind of creepy.
You know
like,
what I
it
thought?
makes the American one seem absolutely silly.
I was like, oh, this is like the intro for American Horror Story season. That's kind of what it felt like.
Kind of. It wasn't bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. We could talk more about this movie, but
Should we? Cause we didn't really touch on the plot. But also, if you don't know the plot of the
we're-
rest,
Halloween
There's
Blitz.
a cursed
Watching
videotape.
this.
The
Yeah.
Blitz isn't for the plot. The Blitz isn't for the plot.
Should
We're
we
here for
talk
the
a-
Elmers.
should we just talk about Nanako Matsushima as Asakawa? Because she was
Oh my gosh,
Very
she
nice
was
looking.
well dressed.
very posh, right? She was
She had
so
a lot of costume
fancy.
change. She looked great.
Beautiful.
She was also,
gorgeous.
I
she
swear
was
to
a
God,
gorgeous.
Rob says
woman.
to me, he looks over at me and he
I
goes,
know.
you know? Do you? He says, I think she's the 10th member.
Exactly what I was saying. But I was thinking she looks a little like Neon.
Dude, she's so
But anyway.
pretty. She was like
Forgot about that.
stunningly
Really
pretty. Like it
fucking.
took,
She's like
Yeah.
distractingly pretty.
it took like one frame, and Rob goes, "She's," and I go, "Whoa!" I swear to God, it was a. And I don't try. I'm not. We don't need to objectify. I'm not even doing that. I'm saying
I don't think we are.
she was like like
Like I
wow,
said,
that's
distractingly
that's
pretty.
an angel. Earth angel, Earth angel, won't you
It
be
is the
mine? No,
second
no,
movie.
it's not. Okay.
All right, let's rate.
All the time.
What do you rate this one?
I rate this one 68.
I gave it
Out of 100.
65.
Okay. We're all kind of in the same. I gave it a 69.
Oh,
Ooh.
God, I thought you were going to give me one of them later.
Okay.
Still time.
So that's Ring. Let's go ahead and start picking up the pace because we have way too much to talk about the second one. What's the second one?
We're on time. And the second one was my pick, Noriko's Dinner Table.
Boo!
2005.
Boo this man! Boo this man! Go ahead, Bill. These people think we're shaming him like we're going to tar and feather him next.
This was my
He's a Democrat. It's okay.
This was my pick. I really want to watch this movie with my friends.
Speak up. Speak in the microphone. Say it with your chest.
Yeah.
Noriko's Dinner Table has been on my to-watch list for a very long time. I have heard it is disturbing and twisted and in the same world as Suicide Club, and it's also directed by Sion Sono, who I love, and I expected Suicide Club on steroids. And
What'd you get?
I got Suicide Club on benzos. It's the Suicide Club. And-
I tell you right now, I would much rather watch Suicide Club twice on benzos than in a row, and then watch this again.
Well, I watched both on benzos. That wasn't a joke.
I know. That's why it's funny.
Honestly, we can do this one quick. I'll talk about why. I'll say why. Just give me a minute to say why I like it, and you
Of
guys
course.
can dump, and then we'll go. So
I want you to just be honest.
I'll start. I'm going to be deadly honest, and the first thing I'll say about being deadly honest about Noriko's Dinner Table is that it was not a good movie. But also, what else is true is that I liked it.
Okay.
And that's where I knew it was going to differ. I knew we would agree that it was not good.
I knew this wasn't a good movie, but where I didn't think we'd agree was where I liked it.
But like, we, especially I, talk about how much I love Asian horror, and it's because of the character development and the family drama and everything. And it turns out instead of being like the disturbing, gory, filled, fucked up film I thought it was gonna be, it was like 2 hours and 45 minutes of just
Family drama.
which I liked, and it wasn't what I wanted. And yes, I would have rather it be what I wanted, which was some crazy cult fucked up shit.
Did it feel like a horror movie to you?
No, I mean, it did in the same way, and I knew you weren't going to like this movie because at the end of it, I was like, I kind of like this movie. It reminds me a little bit of Parasite. Mykel's going to hate this movie. Because in the same way, because you know what I mean? You'll fucking search on some things for horror, and Parasite comes up, which is bullshit. It's not a horror film, but it is.
I feel like it's more
in
than
the
this, though. There's more like
They're pretty
horror, but
close,
it's
but
comparable,
it's
maybe.
mostly like a family drama with some moments of relatively graphic violence.
Yeah.
And I thought this movie was only on effed up films because it was effed up.
I think it's on
but
there because it's Silent Sono.
The other part of that site is that just movies that are hard to find are in the universe, and I can tell from the dub that like these movies are found in places, and like a fan of that movie did that dubbing for that movie, or not the dubbing, the subtitles. I'm a fucking idiot.
Yeah, and
But,
like he likes Silent Sono, he likes Suicide Club, and is like part of a community wherein he's like, we're gonna put it up.
Exactly.
It makes sense.
So I thought it was on effed up films because it was effed
Effed
up,
up.
but it's on effed up films because it's related to a
Effed up
popular movie called Suicide Club,
Yeah.
which was disappointing. But like I said, like I like this movie, and would I ever watch it again? No. Would I recommend it to anybody? No. But I like dramas, and like it was a good family drama, and like some of it was silly and some of it was relatable, some of it was boring. There was a few gory parts, not enough, but what was there was decent.
Couldn't
I
it have
didn't
been an
fucking
hour
hate
and
it.
40 minutes?
No, honestly, because then it would have been
It
the
wouldn't
same
have-
thing,
yeah.
but the characters wouldn't have been fleshed
And
out
it
enough
wouldn't
that I
have-
would have cared. So it would have just been boring, and I wouldn't have cared. But this was like it was kind of boring, but at least I cared.
And I think
If that
that what
makes
happened for
sense.
me is that like around like the 30, 40 minute mark, I was like, fuck this movie.
Yeah.
And I think once you've introduced that idea, it doesn't really
It's hard
like
to
you
get
can't
out
care.
of that.
You can't care. So like I had a movie that was an hour longer that was boring and I didn't care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like part of that was probably because I was like missing critical details and like fucking whatever, and then like probably got on my phone more than one time when I should have been paying attention because I already decided that I didn't like this fucking movie and I wasn't gonna fucking ever like this movie. And like I was smart to do that because I wouldn't have enjoyed what I missed because what I saw
Fair
sucked.
enough. What did you see?
All of it.
Nope. You missed 30 minutes of that movie. I know, because
middle,
you
or
said,
last?
how far are you into it? And I told you, and you're like, it's about where I was, maybe about a half hour. I'll just drop it now.
Yeah.
Damn.
So I missed I missed minutes like 85 to like 100.
Those were the best.
They weren't really. I'll tell you right now.
No,
that
I know what happened because
you
I asked.
made the right choice, and this is a bad film, and you shouldn't watch it. It's not good. There are some things about it that I did like. Actually, the idea of like renting a family and like all that is like kind of cool in a conceptual way. Conceptual? But like, I don't know. I have like pretend guys are my dad all the time, and like it's not that weird. So I don't know. I need to make a movie about like 2 hours 40 about it. So
Yeah, I usually make it about 15 into
well,
a
maybe an hour and a half if we're lucky. But yeah.
different roles.
But this film is honestly just extremely boring and tedious. It's a slog, a chore of a film to watch. And I would want my money back in a theater. And I would never watch this or recommend it to anybody. And I was honestly waiting for like the blood. I was waiting for things to get fucking crazy, like the end of Audition or something. Or like
Cronenberg or something?
Yeah, and it never happened, and then the movie ended, and I was like, thank God it's over.
This is honestly one of the worst movies I've seen. That's a full stop sentence, but it's definitely
And you
firmly at
didn't
the top
even
of one of the
watch
worst
most of
movies.
it, and I
That's
watched-
not true.
I watched all of it.
watched most of it. I watched
You
over
watched the majority. You watched the majority of it.
2:15 of a 2.
But I watched all of it.
I maybe missed 20, 30 minutes. And so this is what happened. we were watching it,
Yeah.
and it was like it's a fucking 3-hour-long movie,
Yeah.
and you'd fallen asleep, and then I noticed shortly after that you'd fallen asleep, so I cut the movie. I took a timestamp, I cut the movie. I came home the next day,
That's right.
and
This
you
is the
were
day before
watching the movie, and I was like, oh, fuck, where are you? And you're like, oh, I'm here, and I'm like, fuck it, I'm going to sit down.
I started from the beginning.
No, you started it from the
Yeah,
beginning,
yeah,
because you had missed most of it, and I was like, well, you're not that far from me, but also I'll shorten this movie by 20, 30 minutes. So, Bill, I'm sorry, but I did see all of it. Like, I know the fucking I know, like, fake fucking, I can't remember their names now because I watched it like a week ago,
so
but it's like
there's
Sanu and Soku or
Yeah,
something like
okay.
that, and then
Yeah,
it's
so
Noriko
it's
and
Mitsuko and Yoko, and it's actually their names are Yuka, and then her
Yeah, and
sister's
Noriko.
name is Noriko.
yeah,
And like, there's a whole like weird like investigatory thing where like they leave clues for their parents because like, sure, why not? They're 18.
because fake dad
angsty.
knows that real
And then
siblings are
dad
fake.
also like transports
daughters.
the whole house, and then mom actually kills herself. There's like a whole like misconnect, or not misconnect, like it's not any good. And I think I said this a few times watching it with you. It's like, this movie would be smart if it wasn't so fucking stupid.
Yeah.
And also, I'm gonna say this right now, one of the most obnoxious things in this film is the soundtrack. It is infuriating to listen to music box music for 3 hours.
245, 250,
It's
yeah.
awful.
It's
Yeah.
honestly fucking
Almost
horrible.
3.
I'm-
Almost 3.
We kind of talked about this off pod, like in text. It's like, this is so bad. And you're like, it's not the worst film to watch this month. And
It
I was
better
like,
be.
It fucking better be.
Honestly, this movie felt to me like a J Dora, not a J Horror. It was a fucking Japanese Miriam Dora movie that provided me with like less scat and less like references. Like, it was just as boring and like a little less art housey and fart smelling. So like, it's not as bad. It is genuinely better than Miriam Dora. If you're listening to this, please stop making films.
you.
I don't know why I've seen so many. I can't stop watching your bullshit.
Really talking earlier about watching a 5-hour scat film. Like,
No, it was like a scatological
Operatic.
meditation. An operatic scatological meditation.
which makes it better.
It's fucking
It's
338
longer, so it'll be
minutes.
better.
Yeah.
If there's more of it, it'll be better.
Yeah. Anyway, this movie wasn't fucking good. I don't
It's
want to
not
talk about it
good.
anymore.
Don't watch it.
19 was my rating.
Wow.
Generous, I
think
know.
it's a little better than that, but not by much. I don't know, like 35.
35?
Yeah.
Holy fuck.
There's like some redeeming
You think
things,
35
but like
is high?
honestly,
That's like,
I feel
holy
I feel
shit
like the
high.
acting is not like particularly outstanding, and like
From
it's-
Rob? Yeah, I didn't expect him
Yeah.
to get out of the 20s. I don't. If you say it's like 61, I'm not going to be shocked. I'll be like, yeah, that's fair. And everybody's opinion is valid and right. It's just
The best
not
parts of
one
this
I agree
movie
with.
are parts of Suicide Club that are spliced into this film.
Yeah, like no, and that's not a joke. Like
That's a
literally,
literal,
there's
actual
scenes from a different movie
movie.
put into this movie.
And it's better.
It's the best part of this movie.
I like this movie.
This shit's so bad.
I am not surprised that you guys did not, and the things that you say poorly about it, I do not disagree with, nor can I contradict. All I can really say is I like this kind of shit. I like slow fucking Asian drama, family drama. I like it. I have like a page and a half of notes, but I won't go through all of those. But
I mean, say whatever you want. It's the fucking world
The
is your
pod,
oyster.
homie.
I'm done talking about it. The floor is yours.
I mean, it was, like I said, it was not what I wanted it to be at all. But what it ended up being was this a really good Japanese drama. I thought I really connected with every character, and like I say about Asian horror, and it's hard to even argue that this is a horror movie, but I did kind of connect with every character. I mean, the whole story about leaving home and, you know, shedding who you are and becoming, and the whole like rent a family thing is so strange and dark, but you kind of think about that and you put yourself and you're like, they don't explain a lot of it, which sometimes I feel like is good. Like one of the first family rentals they go to is that man that just wants to be a drunk piece of shit because his wife died, and he beats them and he hates himself and he's alcoholic, and he pays them and then he leaves, and that's what his fucking life is. And like that's just like fucking nuts, and like it feels like that sometimes, and like it feels like you just want to run away and like try something new and like shed the fucking life you have and just like try to start over. And then you get the story of the dad who is doing the complete opposite. He's only focused on work, and he's a journalist, and he wants to do the best work and everything, and then his daughters disappear and he doesn't even care for a while because he's so focused on work. And then he goes through and it's the painting that the mother made, and he compares it next to the actual photo, and he sees that the mother has killed herself, painted her daughters smiling, but in the actual photo they're just like not happy and they're not there, and he doesn't realize that, and he tracks him down, and it's this whole thing, and it's fucking like slow and boring, but like it's also kind of tragic and like kind of beautiful, and you think it's gonna work out, and it like doesn't, and it's fucking weird, and it's fucking wild, and probably not in the best ways all the time, but you're like, wow, this is crazy. Like this dad tracked down his daughter, set up a home to look exactly like their childhood home, pulls a fucking gun on her daughter, and she's staying in character as this new person because she was so unhappy growing up and met this girl on her internet. And like another thing like we talked about in like Asian horror about like the digital age and stuff, like obviously this is a big thing at the time. Like she leaves her home to go to Tokyo, and because she feels alone unless she's on the internet, and she's found by her dad, and it's crazy how they fucking stay in character, like that shit's
unbelievable,
like fucking wild. And then yeah, it's silly, they end up just like having dinner together, like nothing's ever changed, and he's like, oh, I just want to start from the beginning, and the dad kills a fucking bunch of people, and they just ignore it, and it's fucking wild, and it's nuts. And like I said, it's not a good movie, but I like it. And what'd you give it? That was too high, a 31?
35.
I gave it a 70.
Wow. Okay. I mean, that's to each their own. I will say this film does have some cool ideas about like the roles that we have, and if we fulfill them, and like what we owe to each other, and like all that kind of shit. But it's poorly executed. Fuck this movie.
Fair enough.
I'm very happy that was not a movie that fell, on the 24th or later, because I would not have fucking, oh my god.
I appreciated that.
Fuck no. That wasn't my favorite, but I appreciate that you picked it, because I would have not ever put it in front of me.
You're
Thank
welcome.
You.
Sorry.
It's okay. Next film, I think, was my pick.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was.
It's got a
boy.
vampire in it.
Isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. The girl walks home alone at night. 2014, not rated. The Iranian vampire spaghetti western.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a mouthful. What did you guys think?
Well, I will say this. This is a very pretty film.
Indeed.
That was full of expressive shots and characters. There's a lot of both style and substance in this film. One of those I like a lot more than the other. And it's really hard to argue with this film from a technical standpoint. Its execution
It's beautiful.
is fucking
And the
really
soundtrack,
pretty. The
right?
soundtrack is good.
The soundtrack is
And I actually
fucking
like the
fantastic.
characters.
Characters are.
Like I
you
actually
care
like
about them,
I
right?
identify with them.
Yeah.
They're all they have
Arash
that, like,
has his own name,
they
like the actor, and right. Isn't
Arash,
that his-
yeah.
yeah. So they're like Wes Anderson, Tim Burton.
It is very.
I didn't say. I said yeah, and then I like stuff. No, but they like the characters all have like.
Did you trust me?
I did not. The characters
Did
all.
you trust me?
I did
I
not.
thought so, but
Play that
Okay.
shit, Jamie. Play the
Dude,
bridge back.
No,
but yeah, it is.
No,
like
but they
Wes
all
Anderson.
have like very unique characteristics.
Yes.
So even though I might not necessarily care so much, like I'm not necessarily rooting for anybody, like I'm not emotionally invested, I can identify each character quickly, and it helps me like kind of compartmentialize how I'm
Story.
supposed to feel
The
about each
characters are-
character. You know what I mean? Like the drug dealer
Yes.
is like the drug dealer, and like Arash is like handsome.
He's the
and-
guy. He's the
and-
hero. He's upcoming.
yeah, so, and you
They
can
did-
tell by looking at them. It's almost like like a
Archetypal.
tarot card, or you
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's like the archetype of like
Yeah.
that role, and all of that is really well done. I don't like this movie though.
Okay, that's fair. It's fair. It's fair. Like, I mean, the parts are greater than the whole, right? That's basically what you're saying.
Yeah,
pretty much I thought I was gonna get bashed on this one again, to be honest. I knew Noriko's I was gonna take a bashing. I thought I was gonna for this because I agree with pretty much everything you said. This movie is beautiful. The cinematography is great. The soundtrack is incredible,
the
honestly.
choice to go black and white
Incredible.
honestly was
The
huge for
choice
this
to
movie.
Go black and white is
I know you
very
guys don't
good,
always
which
love
I would
that.
not say often.
But it's a
The-
vampire movie. It's at night, and the whole palette works gorgeous.
Really well. The performances are great. I agree with what you said, as in, like, the characters are fleshed out really well, even though you don't get backstory. You don't even get that much dialogue. But, like you said, when it goes to a different scene, you know exactly who that is. But, like you said, this is an artsy-fartsy film, and
That either works for me or it doesn't. And I think you're kind of the same.
yeah,
This
and,
one
I
didn't
mean,
work.
Unfortunately, there's more scenes that are fartsy than they're artsy.
Yeah.
But the scenes that are artsy are really fucking good. But the scenes that are fartsy are like there was one scene in particular that I was genuinely upset at the end of it. I was like annoyed that nothing happened, and it was when the vampire woman that's walking home alone at night meets Arash up at the car at the power plant, and they pretty much sit there in silence, talk about hamburgers for a minute. She tries to leave. He gives like a really corny speech, and then she leaves. And this is like a 10-minute fucking scene, and I'm like, God, that was just all fart, which was annoying. But then like there's scenes where she goes back to the drug dealer's house, whose name was Saeed or something, I believe. And this scene is also long and like kind of artsy and fartsy, where he's like playing music and it's slow and there's no speech.
It's
and
just
he's,
music
like,
for a while.
and he's kind of just walking around doing drugs, being the shit, he thinks. And he finally like changes songs and unbuttons his shirt and goes to be sexy and goes up to her. And she sucks on his finger
Yeah.
and then bites it off, tackles him down the stairs, shoves the finger into his fucking mouth, and then just goes nuts on his neck. And like that was good.
It was
And
pretty
like
good.
that made the build up. I was like, okay, like I was starting to be like, all right, like when is this gonna end? They're just bumping like EDM and no talking. But that made it was like, oh shit, like that was all good now.
So like
But
once
then
you
there's
understand the
scenes-
formula, you're like, okay, I know what I'm gonna get. But then
Yeah.
you end up not really getting that.
And then sometimes you get all that art shit fart, and then you don't get, or you get all the fart and then there's no art at the end of it, which is how I felt at that one scene. I was like, oh man, this is really slow and they're barely talking, they're not doing anything. Like at the end of it, she's gonna, I don't know, kill
There's
somebody
tension
or,
for a
like, do
reason, but there's
something
no
crazy,
release.
and then there's just nothing.
Well, I think this movie a lot has something to say about like vulnerability and like relinquishing power.
For sure.
And like allowing oneself to be exposed, right? Like it's a love story in a lot of ways, as
Yes.
most vampire stories are.
Oh yeah,
you know?
completely.
Yes.
This
I don't know. It's different. I think the story's narrative is told in the spaces between really like the gore and violence, which I know you and I are a big fan of a lot of times, and maybe this movie just doesn't speak the language we're most fluent in. It's still undeniable that it's like well made. And I tried to watch it once prior to this and didn't make it through because I was like, I don't really think this movie is for me. And after watching it this time, I appreciated it more, and I still kind of thought it wasn't for me. But this is another movie where I watched this before Rob did, and then Rob was watching it later that night, and I came out, and there was times when I was standing, and I would just stare at the TV for like 15 minutes because I couldn't look away because it's so fucking pretty. It really is. And then I was kind of like reminiscing with some of the scenes, even though I'd only seen them like once, and it was just like earlier that day, and I was like, oh yeah, man, that is kind of badass how they got that shot. Like, it's kind of cool, but like, I don't really care for this movie. I think I feel about this movie the way you feel about Ring. Is like, vamps don't really do it for me, so it didn't get any bonus points for that. And because everything else, it's a good movie, but it's not a movie for me. I would actually recommend this movie to quite a bit of people who come to me like, oh, what's a good horror movie? And I'm like, I don't know what kind of horror movie you'd like. But there's a whole fucking type of person where I'd be like, you should check out A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. You might dig it.
But how many of those people are going to be like, it's black and white?
Iranian, and it's in...
I don't know. I think this movie... I want to like this movie more than I do. That's my biggest thing. But
It'd be cool to get into.
It'd be cool to get into, but it is gorgeous.
Yeah,
the music is great. It is sensual. It's not even just sexy. It's like a sensual movie. It's
cast is attractive. This landscape's attractive.
Oh my god, she's weirdly attractive.
Yeah, she's gorgeous.
Arash is handsome. That's a good-looking dude.
He's very handsome.
But like the whole landscapes, and not just like the cinematography, but even just like there's a scene where Arash is doing like shrubs, like he's pruning shrubs. Fuck, he's all like sweaty in that.
Yeah, he's wearing the white shirt, like tucked in.
Yeah, and you see those mountains in the background. It's gorgeous.
And you see his like transition from that moment where he's like going to help fix the TV in the bedroom, and he asks the daughter like, "Hey, you need to leave because your parents wouldn't approve of you being alone with a man." Because they're in Iran,
right?
And then later he's like literally like selling drugs, and he's a pimp. But it's. I was trying to describe this movie to some of my coworkers today because I was like, oh, I watch movies. And they're like, oh, what'd you watch? I was like, oh, I watched this fucking Iranian vampire movie. And they're like, what? I was like, yeah, it's black and white. It's like
spaghetti western.
It's like, it's not really a horror movie. It's more of like a sad movie.
I feel like it's a horror movie more than any other major genre.
Sure. I mean, if you're going to put it in like a big category, like that's where it's going. But like, this is a sad film. And I'm a sad boy, so I like it.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous. It's sexy. Like the vampire, I don't know. Like her meeting with Arash is almost. She's like almost dumbstruck because he's so fucking high on ecstasy that, and she just doesn't. He's like disarming in a way. Which is a very meet cute like, and they're in this place that's bad city that doesn't really exist. But it does exist, and everybody's interconnected. Like, it's like a Wes Anderson film. Yeah,
like, I couldn't tell if Bad City was, like what you said, like this made-up town, or if it was just like a nickname for wherever they lived.
Yeah.
It is like Sin City, actually.
It's
Lily
very much
Emafor cites that as a huge influence on her. Yeah. That's also
true. Yeah.
But I do like this movie, and I want to like it more than, and I want it to be better than it is. But it's kind of slow, and it's not messy. Like everybody's kind of interconnected, but there's points in it, like a lot of the story with the dad and his like heroin addiction. I don't think that they're unnecessary. But it's a kind of a drop, and I'm more interested in like Arash and the vampire, and like they're like,
Yeah.
and like there's a scene where she scares a little boy. That's like I really do like that a lot.
That is a good scene. She says some fucked up things.
Some fucked
to
up
him,
shit where
to a
she's like,
child.
I could pull out your eyes and feed them to dogs, and you'd have to like live your whole life like
Yeah.
blind, and just
Badass.
and like you're saying, like the contrast. Arash like punches a wall early in the film and has a white cast on his arm the rest of the movie, and it stands out. And then you've got the vampire, and she wears her like hijab, and also she has like a cloak.
But also like that black lipstick, or it's not black, it's probably dark red, but it's black and white.
and eye makeup, and her
Yeah,
like
and
on
then
the
just black and white striped shirt.
on the skateboard, which those long shots of her on the skateboard are actually the director Lily Amirpour, not the actress.
She looks a lot like the
They do look
actress.
fairly
Actually, like I
similar.
first saw it and I was like, oh fuck, is that? And I was like, oh, it's not. But that's funny that it's her on the skateboard.
But I don't know. I would recommend this. I would recommend this movie to a lot of people, and I like this movie.
I don't know, this is one of those movies where we've talked about this a lot on the podcast, and it's kind of like in the horror narrative. Some people call it like post-horror, artsy-fartsy, or some of that like elevated horror, whatever you want to call it. We all know what we're talking about. And there's a handful of those movies that get praise that I understand. You know, we've all kind of talked about like Get Out, and, you know, whatever, Midsummer, Hereditary, The Witch, stuff like that. And there's a handful of those movies that I really don't agree with, like Us or The Babadook. And this one is kind of like more deserving of it than those. Like those, I just don't see the thing about The Babadook. And like for me, and I don't see the thing with Us. But for me, I think, and I gotta revisit Us. But for me, this movie is like, okay, I see it, but I don't think I see it 100%. It's not for me. It's kind of, I don't know if you guys seen that A24 movie called It Comes at Night. It's like,
I
it's
actually like that movie.
That's a really pretty movie. This
like
is
that.
pretty good.
I like that movie too.
I saw that in theaters.
Yeah.
My friends saw it with me, and they were like, "That movie fucking sucked." I was like, "Fuck you, that's good."
Yeah. And so like sometimes like those slow burns or whatever, they just speak to a certain person at a certain time. Maybe it's headspace, maybe whatever. And this movie was good, but I didn't have the boxes to check that it was going after, and so it just misses. This was like a warning track fly out to me. It was a well hit ball, but it didn't leave the yard.
Fair enough.
I hear that. I do just want to mention how much I really did like one of the fartsy scenes, you could say, was when she does wheel him back to her apartment on the skateboard, and he wakes up from the bed, and the song Death by the White Lies is playing, and she's pretty much just standing at the record player, and he gets up and moves very slowly behind her, and she turns around very slow, and they just have like this moment, and she
exposed his neck into her, or like unknowingly, I guess, but
and she puts her head on his chest, and she can like feel his heartbeat like really slow. And I don't know if this was supposed to be part of it or not, but for me, like as a viewer, it was kind of like when she first ran into him. First of all, it's funny how she's a vampire and she runs into him,
Dracula.
and he's like, I'm Dracula, because it's like
it's cute.
a costume party or whatever that he's like dressed as Dracula. But in my mind, her intention is to kill him and drink his blood because it's like a freebie for her. Like she sees him staring at the light all fucked up and is like, oh, like this is free, like easy pickings. And she brings him home and does her thing, and it's like chilling, and I would like to think she's putting on that song, and she's planning on, biting his neck and killing him, and he ends up waking up in that moment, and she feels his heartbeat and notices that it's slower than that of someone that would be nervous, either with a new woman alone in her room or with a potential killer, if you knew that. And I felt she might have, it could be that she has feelings and she was like, this guy's not scared of me. Like, I'm not going to kill him. Not that she necessarily liked him, but I also kind of want to think it's more carnal, and it's like, oh, like, heart is not even beating very fast. Like, the blood's not going to be good or something. Like, I don't even want him. Like, I also kind of want to think it's that I'm disgusted
She
of
needs
him
that adrenaline.
factor. But it's up to the viewer, or maybe it's not. Maybe that's just how I took it. But this movie is pretty farty, and it is arty at times. And if it could have been more arty, it could have had more kills.
I don't know.
But like you said, like, I want to like it more than I do, which I don't hate this
Still
film.
like it a lot.
Yeah, do you want to rate it?
Yeah.
I give it a 67.
Give it a 78.
Wow. Well,
Oh. This is a perfect example of something that fucking does a lot, just doesn't do it all for me. I felt really justified rating this movie. Yeah, I had a lot of trouble with this. Give it a 50. I don't like this movie,
No, you don't.
but I can't deny that it's fucking
I was
well made. It is not only well made, it's like I like watching this movie. I don't like the movie. I don't need the subtitles on. I don't care about the fucking story. But like, if this is like a perfect movie to put on 12 TVs in the front of a Radio Shack at like 95, if you want me to stop and look at your TV that you're trying to sell me, I'd be like,
not
why
getting
is
a
that
lot.
vampire girl riding a skateboard?
You're not getting a lot of customers, but you're getting Mykel.
Yeah, no.
Buy something.
Buy this fucking color TV. Check out this black and white movie.
That's funny because honestly, when I
like watching this movie 50 out of 100.
I don't like the film.
when I watched this movie,
I like seeing it.
I was really like so split about you. Just like at the end, I was just thinking about you. I was like,
I'm split. I'm right in the middle.
no, but I was like, I already knew how I felt about it, and I was like, wow, Mykel is either gonna fucking hate this movie or he's gonna like yell at us about how fucking party it is. And I think we're like pretty. I think we're all honestly pretty much on the same page. Did we all rate it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
From 50 to 78.
You gave it a 50?
I did.
You did? All right, so that is a little lower than I would have guessed. You gave it a
78.
78. Holy fuck, and that's higher than I thought.
Yeah, so
I
we're
guess
not
I
really on the
thought-
same page at all, I guess.
I think this funnel cakes are showing him. He's getting all fucking
Fuck,
delirious.
okay, I'm gonna get
with
some
sugar
beers.
Are these edible? Yeah, get some beers.
high. I don't. Shut up, dude.
They don't drink beer in Texas?
Yeah, they don't.
It was
yeah.
the thing you said before that. It doesn't matter. Moving on.
What's the next one? From Hell?
Yeah, who picked this?
I picked From Hell.
Why?
Because I've always wanted to see this movie, and I love serial. Well, that's a weird thing to say. I've always been
I love serial killers
fascinated by
Always
serial
admired serial
killers.
killers.
No, I've always been fascinated by them.
Okay,
I
I'm gonna
love
get some
serial
beers.
killers.
I'll be right back.
All right.
So I've wanted to see this for a long time. I've not been able to find the time or really prioritize it enough to do that, I guess. But yeah, this movie came out in 2001. So 20 plus years. I remember when it was coming out, I was like, oh, I want to watch that. Here we are. This movie is also based off of a book, or rather a graphic novel, written by Alan Moore. I fucking love Alan Moore. That's my dude. And what I know about Alan Moore is that he hates this movie because it's a book, or it's a movie based on
It wasn't Roger Moore, it was Alan Moore?
it's a movie based off of
What's it based
off of one of his
Here, have this beer.
graphic novels, because he hates all of his adaptations. He hates this. He hates
you.
The Extraordinary Gentleman. He hates V for Vendetta. He hates fucking
How
Watchmen.
do you feel about those?
What is going on? Can you just get it together?
Yeah, Bill.
Like, seriously,
I
what the
think
fuck
his
is going
shoes
on?
untied or something.
Jesus Christ.
Christ.
What?
Bill. He like lost his shoe. What did you do?
What the fuck are we doing right now? You plugged it in the bowl. Like it's a fucking. What are you doing? All right, so yeah, this movie was fun. It's directed by the.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Sorry.
Are you? Okay. Anyway, this movie was fucking directed by the Hughes brothers. They did like some other fucking movies, what, Dead Presidents? Okay. Let's pause.
No, keep going.
No.
I got you.
Then go.
It's an interesting movie. Like I actually had seen this before. I'd not like a long memory of it, but like at certain scenes, I was like, oh, I fucking definitely have seen this. Johnny Depp plays Sherlock Holmes, but he's not Sherlock Holmes, and he's addicted to laudanum, opium, and various absinthe, pretty much anything of the day that you could find in 1888 Victorian England. And he's been tasked by the Royal Society of London to find Jack the Ripper.
Yes, this movie has Robbie Coltrane in it.
Yes, Hagrid.
Yes.
Ian Holm,
Who,
Bilbo.
Bilbo.
yeah, Bilbo. It has Bilbo and Hagrid and fucking Jack Sparrow in it and Felicity Shagwell.
Felicity Shagwell.
No, the cat's a stack.
Shagwell by name, Shag very well by reputation.
Oh, by reputation.
Oh.
Quite well. It's a good fun flick, I think.
This movie is like if you
Do you
took
like the Go ahead.
It's like if you took vampires out and replaced it with serial killers, and then had a baby between Bram Stoker's Dracula and Van Helsing.
I was gonna say if
Yeah.
you like Bram Stoker's
Honestly,
Dracula,
that sounds crazy, but it's perfectly. It's right on.
You know what I mean?
if
Yes,
you like The
absolutely.
Mummy, if you like Van Helsing, you will like this movie.
Whoa. Are you putting the Mummy and Van Helsing in the same boat?
I'm just saying, if you like those kinds of movies, you will like this movie.
It's that stylized horror action from the
action-y.
early 2000s. That's
Yeah.
like,
There's a love story kind of.
but it also like all those movies. You're talking about Brendan Fraser and fucking Rachel. What's her name? Help
Rachel
me out.
McAdams.
I guess
No,
it
not
is.
Rachel McAdams.
Uh,
Rachel Weisz.
Rachel Weisz.
And then
Edie.
you got Kate Beckinsale and
Yeah.
Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
And then in
And
this one, you got
it's
Johnny Depp and Heather Graham.
Heather
it's like
Graham,
it's like the
yeah.
same formula, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because a
And
lot
it's
of
just
those
like, pick
movies,
the one that's your flavor.
They need to be
Right.
like
Everyone's
kind
got
of
one.
posh British women. Yeah, with like a handsome love boaty guy, but not someone that's like well known.
right? And then
Right.
it's always that like something of like either like an explorer or
It's a
like
period
some sort of
piece.
cleric, or
Yeah.
like the protagonist has some sort of exactly.
Yeah, Lester Crowley is involved.
Yeah.
Right. And then this is just the more horror slasher serial killer Jack the Ripper one, right?
Yeah, this is like
Correct.
the non-supernatural version.
But okay, so I say with a Dracula influence though, like Bram Stoker, is like there's a lot of stylized shots and colors and things in this, right? Like
Yeah.
that's actually like part of the
Lots of
coolest.
shadow play.
Oh yeah, and it's like a lot of like with a knife flashing in the moonlight and then coming back into
Mhm.
frame covered in blood. And
Right.
honestly, all of the like cinematic decisions were probably the best parts of this movie.
we
I think.
watched this together, right?
This is another one where we started together. I fell asleep
That's right.
and then I woke up
Neither
and
you watched the
it
whole
was over and then I started it and then you woke up and I was watching. It was like 3 a.m. and you're like, "Oh, you just finished this movie?" I was like, "Yeah, we watched it for the last 6.5 hours."
Okay, so I think when this first started, do you remember the first thing I said about this film?
I think I've seen this movie before. Is what you said.
That might have been it, but maybe the second thing I said then.
Well, I don't know.
This is not foggy enough. I want foggy London
Oh,
town. What
yes.
is this?
That was not the first thing. You definitely said, "I think I've seen this before."
Yeah.
But it gets foggier as the movie goes on. Actually,
That is true. It does get a little foggier.
I don't know, because I think it's as you get closer to Jack and him's identity being revealed, it's like they try to obscure him more.
More shadow.
Because this
Yeah.
is very much like, I thought one of the cool things about this movie is how they treat Jack, especially for the first couple acts, until you kind of figure out who he
It's
is.
also a disguised voice.
Is like, he is, very much like a monster, like a creature.
He's
treated
like
like
Dracula.
He's treated like a fucking monster.
Yeah.
He moves in the shadow. He
They-
even does that apparition
they
shit. Like
banish him off
Yes.
the sidewalk.
he like
Yeah.
disappears in mist in like
which
plain
is
view.
Cool. Then he becomes more real as the investigation goes on.
Right, and then I like that because he is kind of like a supernatural figure. He's
Spectre.
eluding the police force until like the inspector gets more and more information, and he kind of like takes a more concrete form in the story, in the movie, in his representation, and all that's cool. This is like a pretty stylistic movie. It was actually pretty badass. I actually kind of dug this movie a lot, but this is one of those where it's like, I don't know how good it is, honestly. It's fun. This is a movie where it's like, this does speak to me. This is for me, and because of that, I know I'm going to give it bonus points. I probably wouldn't recommend it to a ton of people, if anybody. Maybe big Johnny Depp completionists, and maybe fans of like Alan Moore, or just if I knew this was your flavor, like you said, if you're into like those Van
Do you like the
Helsing type
Mummy?
movies.
Watch this.
Yeah,
The-
but like
the
my mom
Extraordinary
likes the
Gentleman,
Mummy,
you know?
and like might not get into this.
I
It
like
might
the
just
Mummy, and I don't really like this.
Okay.
This has good gore though. You
Yeah.
can't say it
How
doesn't.
do you feel about lobotomies?
Exactly. Like I don't think my mom would like this. I like them.
You like lobotomies?
Yeah,
Yeah, for him?
all for them.
I will tell you, this is not the only movie that we're going to watch this month that has lobotomy in it.
Well,
Right on.
So
Yeah.
I hope you're a fan.
I was not a huge fan of this. As soon as I saw like the all-star cast, I kind of expected something, and it was pretty much what I got. Was kind of like this Van Helsing kind of feeling movie that I just wasn't interested in, and it was long. But what I will give it is what you just mentioned, is that there are some moments of decent gore
Like,
in this.
Pretty fucking good gore.
disembowelment.
And it comes in randomly because there might be a kill where he just fucking runs by and does like a little slice and you don't see shit, and then there's like a body just like filleted open where you can like see like her insides and like nude body and stuff.
For
So
quite a while.
it's like crazy
on
how
screen.
there's so many, how there's like big differences between those kills, but there's like some good throat slits too.
Sounds like the squelching,
The
the
sounding
stabs.
is good, yeah.
It's
Great.
like very reminiscent of Psycho, right?
So
Like,
there's a lot of stabbing kills in horror, as we all know, and something that can set them apart is the noise. And yeah, you need a wet, squelchy, like feel that muscle tearing. Like that's what gets you.
yeah.
Heart.
shiny surgical equipment from the Victorian era.
I
In
did
like a
laugh.
velvet box.
I did laugh out loud hard when he drew the knife in chalkboard.
Yeah,
on
that
the
was funny.
chalkboard, when he just drew like 2 little circles and did 3 lines, and he's like, "Oh, you mean the knife?"
Yeah.
No, this movie's
kinda
pretty.
love
fucking-
it.
Lister knife.
This movie's pretty fucked up, though. Honestly.
Oh, it's
if
really
you want
fucked
to talk
up.
about like
it's
a
actually
major,
pretty disturbing
when he's
for
like showing
the cast.
when he's like show him, and he's like, "No, I'm not fucking showing him. For Christ's sake, why do I have to look at this atrocity again?" Blah blah blah. And then he's like, "What the fuck?" He storms off, and then Hagrid, Robbie Coltrane, just
Yep.
lifts up the gown, the medical gown, and he's like, cut out her livelihood before he finished the job or whatever. And it's like,
Oh yeah.
dude, you're talking about, like, we know what we're talking about. Like, this is pretty fucking graphic, honestly, man. And I thought you'd be a bigger fan of it because of that. I thought you would be surprised at the amount of gore that you got in here based off of the cast, thinking that you were going to get less than you got. Because this was, as much as we say it's like Van Helsing and Mummy, when you're like, if you're a fan of those, you'll like this. I know a lot of people who are fans of those movies who are like, yes, stylistically, but if they watch this movie, they would absolutely be turned off by the gore.
It was fun. I didn't hate it, and it would only have taken a couple small adjustments for me to really like it. Like if they turned up the gore a little bit, the performances, accents, and dialogue were a little better, I really think that would have elevated. Because honestly, some of the accents were not that great, and the dialogue and writing was kind of off-putting at times. Like I don't need, Eggers like have to have the subtitles on like true to the Bible, but like, give me some indication that it's 1888. Like it
I thought
almost felt at times that they were using like like 90s and 2000s slang. Like, boy, what you talking about? Like sometimes, and it's like
It wasn't quite that bad,
It's up-
but
yeah.
I get what you're saying. But also, I don't understand. Not understand. You're not gonna have that kind of a cast and have like an extreme, like not even extreme, but even like a more to like code period piece.
oh yeah,
And I don't see more gore happening either. Like Ian Holm and stuff. Like he was an alien and stuff. That's pretty fucking
Oh,
graphic.
it had more gore than I thought it would.
But it has a lot. And
honestly.
I don't know. Like I'm not saying this is a perfect film by any means, but I don't see how it could be more gory with that cast.
No, I agree. It was gorier than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Like, I saw this cast and I was like, this is going to be not even like Van Helsing, because at least it was like
This is-
shitty CGI gore in that. But I was like, this is going to be just like a boring period piece drama with no violence.
I'll say this.
And I was wrong.
On the fourth day, which is when we watched this movie, this is by far the goriest movie that we've watched for the 31 Days of Horror.
Which is
And-
crazy in my mind.
And on the fifth day, which is today, we did another movie. It's the Toolbox Murders, as everybody knows, because we've already announced it, and we'll get to that shortly. But this might still be the goriest movie that we've watched this first week, honestly.
I think you're right.
Yeah,
Um,
it's close, but yeah, very
I
close.
think you're right. Unless you're counting all the stuff from Tokyo or Suicide Club. That was
Yeah,
in
unless you talk about the
Rico's.
53 girls that committed suicide in a
54.
different movie. Yes. Well, but yeah, I don't know. This movie isn't perfect, and like you said, it's got its holes, it's got its flaws, it's got its charms. But like, I can't let this go without talking about how fucking insane this ending is. It
Oh,
is
like all the
like,
Freemason shit?
all the
Yeah.
Freemason and like they
Crazy.
find out who Jack the Ripper is and they catch him and they
You can't-
lobotomize
They
him.
lobotomize
Well, because
him.
he's like, you can't hold me accountable because I am like higher than you and only the architect. And like, nah, we like control all of society in Britain. We can fucking
And there's like
disappear
the
you.
prince with the illegitimate baby, and that's the
Children.
reason why these prostitutes are getting like hunted in
Which
the
is a
first place.
wild
This is crazy,
subplot.
crazy,
Yeah, it's
No,
crazy.
yeah, that was
and it's like
insane.
not like
tight.
quite
Well,
fleshed out enough.
That
Yeah,
they were
like
like,
it was not
married in a
airtight.
Catholic church. It's like he's the prince. Wouldn't he be like Anglican? But whatever.
Did you guys like the coffin flop?
Go.
Oh my
Tell
God.
me you guys yell coffin flop.
We're just filming funerals and showing the ones where the bodies fly out.
The
yeah.
grape thing I liked. I don't know a lot about the story, mystery, whatever you want to call it, of Jack the Ripper. I don't know if that grape thing was completely made up or has anything to do with any serial killers from that time period. But I did like that
a nice
aspect of
aesthetic.
it, that he used grapes. That was something that, a poor person, a prostitute, what did they call them?
Unfortunates. Oh, they had a lot of names.
Oh, pinch prick,
Pinch prick,
There
bang
was-
tail,
Bang tails. Yeah, that's
yeah.
the one.
pound bottom.
pound bottom.
That grapes or
Penny
bang
bottom.
tails love grapes, but I thought that was just a nice little. I don't know, serial killers a lot of times have these trophies, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah,
So I did
or
like
rituals.
that, and I thought it made sense. And it kind of sounds silly when you say it, but it wasn't in the movie.
No.
Like you're like, oh yeah, there he lured women into his carriage with grapes to kill them. Like that
Like
sounds silly, but
wine
it
spiked
makes
with
sense.
Oh, it would
and
fucking
played
work for
well.
me.
Oh,
if
yeah.
I was in fucking London and poor in the 1880s and you rolled up with grapes.
With grapes, yeah, I'm
Oh
fucking
my
sucking
God,
and
are you
getting
kidding me?
Killed.
And I do like that part of this. I do think the period piece element of that was well done, where they kind of preserved some of that, and then like the costume and some of like the street lamps, oil lamps, and like
Costumes were good,
carriages
the
and
setting
stuff
was
like
good,
that.
yeah.
I don't know. Obviously, Jack the Ripper was never identified, and some like the stylization they did with him with like the fucking top hat and cape type of stuff.
Yeah,
It's like
very
it's-
Babadook.
And like the
It's-
black eyes, he had like definitely had like
Oh,
black
oh,
eyes
oh,
accent
demonic
for
at
one
the, like,
scene.
Yeah, like
third
Yeah, I
when-
quarter.
was like, is this
Yeah.
supernatural? Like
when
this is
Ian
ridiculous.
Holm is like Jack the
possessed by
It's-
Jack.
yeah.
We made the
Yeah.
joke that he's like, hey, he like just he's
Yeah.
doing
Yeah,
the
he's
jump
like
at the ring.
predatory, yeah.
Let's rate this thing and keep going.
Yeah, this movie's good. It's not great. It's certainly flawed. It's a lot of stylized fun. I don't know if I'd watch it again, but I don't mind that I watched it once. 67.
I don't hate that I watched this movie. It is my lowest rated movie of the week at 61.
It's not a bad week. You didn't hate this week.
I don't hate any weeks that I'm watching movies with you guys.
So, I gave this movie a 70.
All right.
It's kind of fun.
Cool.
I feel like this is like a gory, yeah, you should watch this, like Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
Yep. And you do like The Mummy, and you do like.
I fucking
Van
love
Helsing
The Mummy, though, so I don't like the
Van
comparison.
Helsing.
But I do think it's
And Bram
kind of like a
Stoker.
pick your poison type of thing.
Yeah.
And my poison is The Mummy.
Yeah,
And I'm saying like
League of
that
Extraordinary
is
Gentlemen.
his poison,
Honestly,
though.
too.
Like that formula is kind of like Rob takes that formula.
love that show.
Oh no, that one was
Um,
fun. I'm glad I watched it, but yeah, we can go on to the next one, and that's the last one, and that's Bill. We watched this one tonight
Yeah.
together.
Yeah, so the way that the shit and timing is working out is we're watching a movie together right before the recording every night, and this time it landed on my pick. It's my slasher pick. It's the Toolbox Murders, 1978. I didn't pick this movie to land on a night that we'd all watch it together, but I think it definitely worked out the best that way because, I mean, let's be honest, it's not a beautiful film, unlike every other film that we watch this week. You don't need to know the characters' names. You don't care about the characters. There's not a lot of important dialogue. It's a 78 slasher. It's, as we talked while watching it, it's before American filmmakers figured out what the American slasher is going to be. And we'll
It's
have
like
to get
pre-Halloween,
into what it's going
you
to
know
be.
what I mean? It's-
But it's like the intermediate period of the Americans copying the Italian slasher until we eventually made our own version of the slasher. So it is a man that you barely see, barely speaks, doesn't have a lot of story, walking around killing beautiful naked women is
Yeah.
the most part, which
Yeah.
is
It's like a
a
giallo
lot
port.
of giallo.
Yeah.
Yeah. He wears a ski mask.
And he kills women with the
With
implements
what
in a
he has in
toolbox.
his toolbox.
And it's actually quite effective because, like, we're familiar with a lot of those things. We know what it's like to hit ourselves with a hammer or to, cut close with a drill or a saw or something like that. Like, we've all done that. We all know what it's like. And I don't know. This is pretty fucking badass and pretty good for those reasons. I was surprised by this movie. I've heard of it. I know it's one that kind of falls in that first wave of American slashers. We're talking Tourist Trap. We're talking, I don't know. We don't need to go on a whole nother tangent, but, Black Christmas, all those things. This one, it firmly falls in that area, but I think it stands out by being a little bit better. Like, I like this more than Slumber Party Massacre. I like this more than Sorority Row. I like this
It's
more than a lot.
More graphic.
And the
This
music
movie's
is weird juxtaposition.
boring.
It's like pretty good. And
Music
like,
was weirdly good.
yeah. And like, yes, this graphic images on screen and the gore and the kills were solid. And like,
And it's sexy.
and I think that I see a lot of influence from the movies of like Sergio Martini and Mario Bava, and obviously the Giallo movies that we talked about. But also I see how this film influenced other movies, including that fucking awesome ass scene with the nail gun. And I can't not say I really would be shocked to
The
know that Joel and
Coen
Ethan Coen
brothers.
had never seen this movie, because that kill and that whole approach was so Anton Chigurh. It was awesome. That fucking scene with the nail gun was so cool. I really like this
scene
movie.
is brutal. It came on, and I mean, as it turns out, I do like this movie. As it turns out, I've seen about 40% of this movie, and it turns out the 40% I had seen is the best part of the entire
Definitely.
movie, because it kind of is like a string of kills, and then kind of some weird parts and a
Boys
story
talking.
that we may or may not need boys talking, and then it ends. But the long string of kills is really good, and we get this really long scene of a kill that is executed so perfectly. We're used to horror at this time as when the killer and the victim are introduced to each other. I mean, the killer is killing the victim quickly, like
Flashes or
less than a
edits
minute, some stabs, boom,
off
it's
screen.
over. This one starts as a woman being chased naked out of a tub. She retreats to her bed. She is so genuinely terrified. She realizes the only possible way she's getting away from this male killer is to use her sex appeal. And she starts talking about how you don't need to do this. You can do whatever you want to me. Do whatever, and she's trying to be sexy. And he gets in bed and let you know this is like 6'3", 4", big
guy.
man with a ski mask holding a
drill.
huge fucking nail gun
Oh yeah.
that he had shot at her once before and missed. And it's like not a nail gun like the Evil Dead remake where it's a shoot. Like this is like a fucking rifle where you're pulling a nail out of your pocket and putting it in like an old gun. And he gets in bed and you start to think for a second that it's gonna work, that this killer has some sympathy, or he's just gonna get caught slipping because he's
got a weakness for a beautiful woman.
a horny man. And then all of a sudden you can just tell that it's just not working, and he shoots her and you're like, oh, finally killing victim. No, it's not even a kill shot.
A center mass, like right in her belly, like
Yeah,
she's
it's like
bugged.
her belly, like she is like a wounded doe out in the middle, has nowhere to go, up against the wall, struggling.
And there's
he
a fucking
does
bear coming.
another really fucking slow lock towards her and slow reload of the nail gun, and we get a close-up finishing shot to her head, and most of it's on film, and it's a very obvious model for the headshot.
Yeah.
But for 78, it's decent. It's more than decent. It's good.
It's actually bad
For 78.
ass. It's like one of those, probably like, I don't know, this is another film that, like The Burning, which is like before the big American like slasher push of like Friday the 13th, Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, all those. This one is one of those, again, we talked about the artsy-fartsy movies where some of them get talked about because they were part of that wave, some of them get talked about because they're really good, some of them get talked about because they're underrated. This one is one that I was like, it's probably going to be not a great film, and maybe it's not a great film. It fucking delivers, and I definitely know why it's so relevant, and it definitely is worth a watch. This was not at all the worst movie we watched this week. Not for me.
No.
I liked it quite a bit, and it's a whole lot of good-looking women.
Yeah.
Not the men in this movie are not pretty.
No. I feel like
No.
one good butt in jeans. That's about
Oh yeah,
it.
that dude. Yeah, he did have a nice butt. The one who, not the son, but the son's friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What'd you rate it?
Me, I'll tell you, I give this one, I gave it a solid 66.
Bill?
I give this movie. This is actually.
It's still fucking hot out here. How the fuck is it still hot?
This is my
Texas
highest rated.
only.
This is my highest rated movie of the week.
Really?
No, it isn't.
72.
Okay.
All right. So you fell between 60 and 72 this week. Oh, not a huge, like,
Yeah, the movie I hated the most was the 60.
yeah.
Not a horrible week for me.
It's pretty
Not
decent.
bad.
It's pretty okay.
Gave this a 60. No one crazy about it. It's a slasher. It's like, like you said, it's like pretty giallo. It's got a lot of naked ladies in it, which is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So whatever. Check it out if you're into slashers.
I just like the simplicity.
The headshot
it,
is cool.
The kind of silliness almost that he has all the tools to kill in his toolbox.
The drill kill's good. The
Drill
hammer kill is
his
good.
Chasing, it's almost reminiscent of like American Psycho, like running chainsaw kill, honestly.
Dude, this movie is definitely seminal.
It's a
Like,
sleeper.
it's absolutely one that inspired all of those.
Yeah. And yeah, there is some weird plot stuff later in the movie that we may or may have not paid our full attention to. Something where his son is like also a killer or something. Do we even need to get
Protecting
into
the
that?
family.
Can
We don't need to.
It doesn't
Let's wrap it
matter. It's not the best part of the film, and it's not the most memorable part. And if you watch this film, you're
At a certain point,
Gonna
you're just
remember the other parts
standing
like
in a
us.
parking lot in Texas doing a fucking podcast. It's
I
getting,
know,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Eaten up by mosquitoes.
Oh, I got bug spray.
You got guys right
Fucker.
now. You fucking.
I like just
It Just you don't have to make the sound. It's a pump.
Hold on, no, I'm just peeing real quick. I'll get the bug spray.
It's just for jellyfish. Stop pissing on me.
Okay. Next week is actually a good week, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
That's
Introduce
crazy
it.
after not watching any of them. Oh, wait.
No, I'm saying
You
like
fucking little liar, you have watched some of these.
Oh, is someone
You're not a liar,
cheating?
you can do whatever you want. But I forgot that we're doing it different. Doesn't matter what I'm saying.
not
ahead and
really,
announce
but I
next
mean
week.
it's in line with a lot of the last 30 minutes. So the next movie we're doing is Behind the Mask, Rise of Leslie Brennan, and then we're doing The Loved Ones,
Mykel.
and then Nosferatu,
Bill.
and then Blade 2, Hotel Transylvania,
Mykel.
A Field in England,
Bill.
and Only Lovers Left Alive. So it's a good little spread.
Good spread.
Slasher, family. We got a silent movie. We got some foreign movies. We got
Some talkies.
period piece, some vampire movies.
I was gonna say I kind of wish we had a few more vampire movies next week, but
There's
No,
only
you
two.
But fuck you.
you get what you get.
There's only two, but I'm sure Dracula is in Hotel Transylvania.
I was gonna say it is called Hotel Transylvania. Isn't it about like a
Why'd you get so sexy for that?
family of vampires?
You can't help it. That's just how it is now. This dude gets so fucking chonked up when we talk about vampires. Fucking yeah. All right, let's send
You
this
have
home.
to pay for the video to know what we're talking about.
Yep, you gotta pay for the video.
I don't know if we're allowed to
Sexy.
do this at this hour as three men in Texas. We gotta. We're
Yeah, it's
going-
illegal
shit.
now. That's just how it is now. Yep, you heard it. Oh shit, Coach Greg Abbott, hurry.
Okay, so overall, what do you guys give this week? A thumbs up, thumbs down, or in between?
Ooh, I think a thumbs.
Mostly up to the middle.
Mostly up.
I don't know, man. Noriko's like really pulling me down. I'm gonna give it a middle.
My average for this week would be what, a high 60 something? So that's
It's gotta
not
be.
bad.
You gotta be 65 plus for your average. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not bad. I mean, it's a D technically, but movie wise, that's not bad.
Yeah. Honestly, Ring was fine. Whatever the second movie was Noriko. Was fucking horrible.
It's
Girl
pretty
Walks
good.
Home Alone. I didn't love, but it was a good movie. From Hell's good enough. And then Toolbox was good. I mean, this was a fine enough week. I give it just over half. Like
I don't think it's gonna be. It's definitely not gonna be the worst week.
it's not going to be the best week though.
No,
no
No.
next week
maybe
Next
or the
week's gonna
next
be
week.
a good
I
week.
actually have no fucking idea.
it's gonna be either one of the middle weeks.
But you're gonna
last
have
week
to
is
listen
not
to find
great.
out. That's what I know.
Yep, we'll catch you same time, same bad place.
Same time, same.
Well,
place.
Actually, we're not gonna
to
be at the same place.
We're on the road.
We
so,
are on the road. We
And
gotta
our
finish-
next stop, since we're at Texas, we're going to
Salem, Mass. We're going to be
Salem,
visiting.
Massachusetts.
We're going to be finishing the spooky tour up. Well, we're not finishing it up, but
the historical village, right?
Yes,
Good.
and they did not allow us to record there, but we're gonna go anyway. We're just gonna go in there.
Well, I actually think we can like maybe kind of Trojan horse it in, just in like some burlap bags.
Yeah, we'll just get some burlap sacks.
Yeah,
say
you
it's
got-
myrrh.
well, either way, we'll be able to
I
do
don't think we need to declare it. It's not like another state.
We can do. It is another
really
state.
is
Well,
another
not like a
state.
nation
like we
state.
get to
No,
the
nation state.
get to the historical
No.
village.
Well, no, yeah, I get
Yeah.
it.
We're
But-
gonna be in Salem next week, folks. Come say hi.
Yeah,
We're doing
or
a meet and
at
greet.
least, at the very least, we're going to be in a really small hotel room, very closely outside of Salem. We'll see where we can actually do this podcast, but we'll see you next week. And
We're doing a meet and greet.
you bring
As
the
Bill
meat.
has mentioned, we're doing a meet and greet.
We'll be the three guys outside the hotel in Massachusetts. The three white guys.
Yeah, we're wearing witch hats and eating bagels. So
black nail polish and poppers.
Yeah, come say what's up.
hey yo.
Hey yo.